What is up, RotoGrinders? Good morning. 11 o'clock on the East Coast. We're talking baseball, nonstop baseball conversation, taking it straight up the lock. I say straight up the lock. I didn't give the exact time because we're not talking about the Marlins and the Pirates. I believe FanDuel included that on their early or extremely or ridiculously, absurdly early slate. We're focusing on the DraftKings 7-gamer, starting with the Cubs and the Phillies, 105 on the East Coast, taking you all the way up to 410 Dodgers, Padres, 10 total, biggest total on the board. Randy Vasquez has been one of the worst pitchers in baseball from a diving into the metrics perspective. He's looks like he's going to get his face punched in today versus the Dodgers. Dodgers are the biggest total, 5 and change. I think the Angels are the second highest. There's 2 teams with a 5 total or higher. It's myself, Jordan Cooper. You guys know him better as Blenderhead. Taking you behind the scenes, just so you know, Blender is I don't want to say he's using performance enhancers, but he might be a little bit more. There is that. I don't know if you want to call that a performance enhancer. It's not an official sponsor, but he's going to be bouncing off the walls and fired up. What's up, Blender? How are things? Happy Tuesday.
Well, normally I'm so laid back and chill and monotonous and boring on these shows.
Yes, I've seen the feedback. Yeah, that's what they're talking. That's what they're saying. People are saying that, Blender. No, of course not. You always bring the energy. Now we have an energy overdose, possibly, for the next hour and 15 minutes till we hand it off to, I believe it's Stevie and surprise guest. I'm not sure who else. Let me know who's coming on after us, producer TJ.
Me, Stevie, and Cheese.
Oh, there you go. All right. Was Cheese a late ad? I believe he was a late ad to the conversation.
Yeah, Cheese was a sub in for Cardi.
There you go. Jordan, how are things? How's everything in your world? Anything? We could stretch this one out. We got an hour and 15 till we hand it off to Stevie and Cheese and TJ. What's up in your world?
Well, I mean, in my world, for the past year or so, I've been playing poker a lot. So my DFS play has been pretty much limited to SimLabs. I always say when I go on these shows, I've given myself over to the AI overlords of the internet, right? I just do anything it tells me. So you'll always see videos here Tuesdays and Fridays. SimLabs analysis, our Sims tool here at RotoGrinders, which is part of the Combo LITE package. It's our cheapest package. So you don't even need to necessarily even get Lineup HQ or anything. And the best part about SimLabs is that the app on iOS works great. So if you're a RotoGrinders premium member, you get access to all the advanced features. But if you're just a Combo LITE member, on the go. So a lot of times, Dean, I only play one lineup, sometimes 2 or 3.
Where are you going? You're on the go? You're on the go?
I'm on the go. I'm playing poker, right?
Live. You're playing live poker.
6:45. I'm already there. I've been playing for an hour or 2, and I go, it's close to the lock. So you know what I do? I do 2 things. I go on YouTube and I put on Crunch Time. I'm sorry, I don't listen to you, Dean. Because unless it's a little early, sometimes towards the end, maybe it's 6 o'clock when you carry it over. Because I want to hear Roth's update. Because I need the weather update. I'll look and go, should I be playing this team or whatever? So I'll put that on the background. I'm still playing cards. I'm still, mostly folding because I'm a tight player. And then I go into SimLabs in iOS on my iPhone. I go, okay, well, it looks like, this guy's overowned. This guy's underowned. I'm going to exclude this guy. I'm going to choose that guy. I'm going to stack this. I want to stack this team or whatever. And then I just run it and I look at the first 2 or 3 lineups that it gives me, 5 lineups, something. I go, okay, this looks pretty good. And that's the lineup that I play. That's my DFS process now, right? And then I'll look and I'll see like the little notes on Lineup HQ with the little blurbs to see if there's anything that the projection is this, but we're not sure about his pitch count. Maybe he pitches 100, but maybe he pitches 80, something like that. See what the high variance spots are. But my whole process takes on the phone takes 5 minutes. So
you don't have a lot of takes.
On desktop. I do these videos Tuesdays and Fridays, typically they're 20 minutes long. But the only reason they're that long is because I'm just talking out and explaining. Here's the concepts, and here's how you could use SimLabs in this way. here's how you could use the tool in this way. It's very easy. But the fact that the app is as good as the desktop version is just, big kudos to the development team here at RotoGrinders.
I believe it's also it's also compatible with the bat, if I'm not mistaken, as well. I thought that's what you're going to say.
Well, it's also compatible with the bat.
There you go. I feel like that was something that just happened like 10 days ago or so, and people were excited
about a
about
week
that.
and a half. Yeah, maybe about 2 weeks ago.
But so you have no takes. We get an hour and 15 minutes to fill some time.
Do I ever have takes? You've known me,
No.
right? I've been here for 5 years, and you've known me for longer than that. Do I have any takes other than play whoever you want? Like,
no,
you could play whoever you want, pretty much, and then it just determines what's in the rest of your lineup. So if you wanted to play Kyle Hendricks today, which I'm not suggesting that you do,
you don't want to. I don't think anybody wants to.
Right, but I mean,
you might.
You can play him. Just that your lineup may look different based on the ownership and the projection of the player. If you want to play a Cardinal stack today, okay, that's perfectly fine. But what does the rest of the lineup look like? And the thing is that I teach in theory at DFS.com. You know, the balance of projection, correlation, leverage. You know, based on the size of the contest that you're playing, all these different factors. Well, SimLabs takes that into account. It's simulating everything 10,000 plus times. So essentially, I could just put into, the player filters in SimLabs and go, well, I want to play this guy and I don't want to play that stack. And I'm playing a large field contest and let me take a look, and it does everything for you. So you may put stuff together and go, oh yeah, well, if I'm playing this stack, I'm probably not playing this chalky one-off with that stack. Like as a heuristic, SimLabs tends to go along with those types of heuristics where it's like, oh, the reason why I get to play the chalky giant stack is because I'm playing, an 8% on pitcher and a 4% on one-off, and I'm playing a small field contest, and that's perfectly fine. And SimLabs kind of does all that balancing for you. So like, not only do I not have takes anymore, I almost feel like with SimLabs, I don't even have any like strategic value anyway, because it'll just tell me what to do.
You're just a vessel. Whatever SimLabs tells you what to do, you do it, and that's that. You're a vessel.
Well, it's very similar, Dean. Dean, it's very similar to poker solvers, because that's one thing I deal with every day. So like the things like GTO Wizard and Pio Solver, and you'll put in these spots, right? You'll see, it's like whatever, something happened yesterday, and I 3-bet in this spot, and on the river it was this, and then you go and you look, and based on the situation, it'll show you like the equilibrium. Like this is what most people confuse it with. Oh, you're supposed to call here 67% of the time, and you go, well, I called, so I even though I lost. It must have been a good decision.
You feel better about yourself.
GTO Wizard told me it was a good decision. Well, that's not what it said. All it's saying is that in equilibrium, based on these actions that went throughout the hand, you should be calling here with your hand 67% of the time. But the thing is that you have to look at what your opponent and what you have, and you look and you go, well, your opponent, you're playing against the 74-year-old guy with the VFW Hall hat and the cup of coffee and the newspaper from 10 days ago that he's still reading.
What does that tell you?
That,
what are those tells?
Like, right.
His hand is
that
switching.
he doesn't have King 8 suited at the river.
He's blinking.
He doesn't have that bluff. Like when he bets there, he doesn't have any of these bluffs. So once you go into the tool and you start taking out these hands, and you know what it tells you? It tells you to call like 8% of the time. And you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have called. Right. So
I'm not familiar, Wonder, with this tool. Can you say that? Can you plug in and say this guy's like a super nit? Like, is that something? Is that something you can tell them?
Custom, what you in Pile Solver, you could run custom solves with custom ranges. But the main thing is that that I'll look and I'll go like, what are his bluffs here and what are his value hands here? And then I look at what the bluffs are and I go, I don't see this guy even having any of these hands to even bluff with at this point. So I know that just like we talk about in DFS with underowned and overowned, like today, the SimLabs right now, I mean, it has to update though. has Schwellenbach as underowned. Has him at 30% projected owned, 47% chance of being optimal. So, like in equilibrium, we're basically saying in equilibrium as a heuristic that he should be like 48, 50% owned. He should be 50% owned, but we only have him projected to be 30% owned. Well, what if I tell you that Schwellenbach, we project him to be 30% owned, but maybe he ends up being 60% owned? Well, at 60% owned, he's actually over-owned. Right? Yeah. So that's the same thing. It's like we could like take away projected ownership, just looking at like optimal rates and stuff like that and running sims, you'll see what everything is supposed to be like at equilibrium. But if you put in your own insight of like, there's a weather issue. I mean, this happens a lot in late slates where like a chalky game has weather problems. Well, what happens if like people just decide to not bother taking a risk on playing it and it ends up going much lower on than we project because of a possible delay? Well, that's not it. I mean, you got to adjust it yourself. So if you think that a certain pitcher on today, if you think Ben Brown is going to be more like 18% owned and not 31% owned, we'll be more inclined to play him because in equilibrium, he should be more. But even though we're projecting that he's owned about as much as he should be. But you can make that adjustment yourself strategically going, human beings, right? You know who's going to be playing on a Wednesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And you go, I just think, yesterday, look at yesterday. Yesterday, I posited that the Giants would go massively owned. But will they go, maybe they actually end up being underowned with how much, optimal rate they were on the slate. They ended up being overowned. And the Rockies were underowned. And I played the Rockies, and it's not like that worked anyway. And the same thing for McCullers yesterday. So I mentioned it on the stream. I mentioned it on the video yesterday that like if you think that that we have the Giants at this high ownership, but it may be they actually may be the chalkiest team and still be underowned.
Yeah,
but if you think that the field is just going to stack the Giants no matter what, then they're under. Then don't play them. But according to us, right on our projected ownership, they actually were a little bit underowned, but they came in overowned. So like we can't our projected ownership is great, but it doesn't predict everything like what human beings will do. And sometimes there are pitchers where it's like, oh, this guy we project to be 12% owned, and they ends up coming in at 2% owned because it's like no one wants to play this guy, even though statistically he should be played 10 to 12% of the time. Then he ends up being nothing owned. Well, if you could figure out those spots, you can make. Yes, I give myself to the AI overlords and SimLabs, but I do adjust for. Oh yeah, well if this guy's going to be twice as owned as what we think is going to be, I think he's going to be twice as owned. Then I'm just not going to play him. And if he burns me, he burns me. So you could still put, even though it's SimLabs, even though it's our tools, it's all projections, everything. You could still put your own, quote, takes into your lineups. It just so happens, Dean, my takes have nothing to do with baseball. It has to do with DFS players, with people that play DFS.
Yeah.
They're more ownership-based takes than statistical player-based takes.
You mentioned Schwellenbach. He's facing the Brewers. No Christian Yelich again today, so his life gets a little bit easier. The best opponent, the best player that he would have to face is not going to be playing baseball. The Phillies, if you missed it, Bryce Harper is on the IL, so Ben Brown, his life a little bit easier. As far as weather's pretty clean. Really no issues out there. There is a couple spots that are popping on Weather Edge. St. Louis is getting the old fire emoji. 87 the expected temp. Winds blowing out toward left center, 6 miles per hour. In these similar scenarios, 124 times in this ballpark. We've seen a bump in homers at 14.7%, a bump in runs at almost 20%. So yeah, St. Louis looks like a good spot for hitting baseballs today. Cleveland also 80 is the temp, not full on getting the old fire emoji, but Cleveland 10 miles per hour as far as the wind blowing out to right center. 127 games again, another hefty sample. I like that number in the triple digits. 19.8% as far as homers. We've seen a bump in 127 similar games and 21% bump in runs. So good least good environments there to hit baseballs. Speaking of lineups, we're not going to get some probably as we hit the bell.
We're never going to get them.
We'll get them at some point throughout the slates, but 1:05 is first pitch for the first game, and we have the Dodgers and the Padres at 4:10. Maybe we get them, maybe not. We just got an opener announced. Ben Kasparius is going to be opening for the Dodgers against Randy Vasquez, who's like, God, Randy Vasquez looks so terrible. And then following Kasparius is going to be Robleski, Justin Robleski. I don't know if you saw this last night. I was mentioning it pre-show. I'm like, I'm just going to mention. You probably weren't watching Dodgers Padres in the middle of the night. I'm guessing you weren't, Justin. So, and I think this is super. I think this is sharp. I think more teams should do this because why not? The game's over. Dodgers are down 9-1 in the bottom of the sixth. They're on the road.
They put in Kiki Hernandez in the sixth inning or something?
I love that. Yeah, why not? I mean, their bullpen was spent. The guy they brought in, they had an opener and they had somebody else like a long man. He threw like 115 pitches and he wasn't good. They just needed somebody to eat innings. And they said, well, screw it. Let's just have Enrique Hernandez throw 3 innings. And he was fine. Like, whatever. And, I don't think he's, burning himself out. I wonder if he plays today. Maybe he doesn't. I will say Will Smith is going to crack that lineup because he didn't play last night. So that's one player you can assume is going to be in there. Maybe Freeman doesn't play because we've seen Freeman sit day game after night game. They're talking about that in the start of the season. I think we've seen it a couple times. I don't know if that's been consistent every single time, but I would say there's a decent chance Freeman doesn't play today. But yeah, I love that. And it's also kind of fun. The game's over. Have a little bit of fun. Let's see what Kike Hernandez can do on the mound. I love it when a position player. No, I don't love it when I'm in first or second or I'm cashing nicely.
No, I love it when a position player pitches when I have the stack.
Yes.
There.
Yeah. And when I don't, I'm like, this is BS. This is not what DFS was made for. They start whining like a baby. You love it when it works in your favor, and you don't like it when it works against you. But it's just fun to watch from a fan perspective. I like watching. I like when some of the pictures just
watch
pictures.
The games, Dean. What are you doing? Watching the games?
You don't even watch. You watch the dots, or you're watching Netflix?
I don't even watch the dots anymore. I haven't watched a single pitch of a baseball game.
Oh my God, I can't believe that.
I say on purpose because when I go play poker, there's typically bunch of sports on. So there is going to be a baseball game on, but most people at this point
you're looking the other way.
Intentionally. Most of what's on is NBA. I've been watching the NBA playoffs more than.
Oh, you watch that?
Well, it's on. It's not like I'm purposely like, oh, I can't wait to watch the Pacers Thunders game. No, it just.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on. I don't even know when it's scheduled. It's just like, oh, I guess they're playing tonight, or the NHL playoffs, or so whatever.
Do you watch the hockey? I think you like hockey, right?
Yeah, no. It's fine, but it's not like I'm paying that much attention. It just happens to be on.
Yeah, you are the anomaly, and there's more ways to make things work, obviously, and you don't have to watch the sports. I know a lot of people think you have to watch the games to have an edge, but a lot of times I probably have some dumb biases. I probably do. And I feel like I have some.
I watch MMA though, Dean. Even MMA is like the only one that I'll watch. MMA and soccer, the only 2 sports I'll watch.
Did you watch the United States against? Was it Switzerland?
No, I typically don't watch international friendlies. Who cares?
Well, I mean,
doesn't really
they
matter.
just. Yeah,
I know they got destroyed by Switzerland. They shouldn't have, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't think their best players are playing. I don't think Pulisic was out there, but still, they lost. 4-0 was the last I saw, the 70th minute or so. Not very. It was in Nashville. I think I saw a lot of empty seats too. A lot of empty seats in Nashville. I guess they have a new soccer venue in Nashville. The new soccer venue.
I've been to a soccer game in Nashville. The problem with all these things is that the ticket prices are too expensive.
Oh well, yeah. I guess that might explain why. Well, I guess that wasn't the Nash. What is the Nashville Sounds? Is that there? Sounders? Sounds? That sound right?
That's
the baseball team.
Nashville SC, but they have an MLS team.
Oh yeah, that's just that's the bailout. We can't think of a nickname, so let's just call ourselves FC. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Let's talk about today's slate. You mentioned some names. Schwellenbach. He was kind of beat up last time out, but seems like a good spot to bounce back here.
What did they file charges?
No. Metaphorically.
Did someone come out of the stands and beat him up? What?
I'll tell you what.
This is what I don't see. I don't watch the games, Dean. So when you make these statements like he got beat up last game, I mean, I just have to go just literally and go, But what did I miss? How come I didn't miss that clip on Twitter or something where
It did hit the socials somehow. It's not in your algorithm.
Was it the coach? But who beat him up?
I'll tell you, I'm not going to say Jesus Luzardo was beat up, but like if anybody was beat up, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball for the first, 10 starts he had this season. He gave up 12 earned runs, is not this most previous start, the one before that, and 8 before that. And if you can do the math in your head, Blender, he's given up 20 earned runs in his last 5 innings, 5 2/3. I rounded down, but the point is still the point. It's been a disaster. Minus 30 DK points in his last 2 starts. And again, he was cruising. He was really, really good. Now he faces a tough Chicago team that we saw kind of get shut down a little bit against Detroit. It certainly can happen. I don't know what's wrong with Luzardo. Maybe it's just some wonkiness, some really, really weird BABIP. But the walks weren't outrageous, 2 and 3. That's not good, obviously. 5 walks and 5 2/3. But again, he just got annihilated. And he's facing a really, really tough offense there in the Cubs. I think it's an interesting route to go if you're trying to be different because people are probably afraid. We're showing 20% ownership. I think it's going to be under that. Man, that's the I know, but I don't know. Schwellenbach coming in at 30%, Ben Brown at 30% as well. That's where we have Lodolo, which he's a fly ball guy against a Cleveland team that doesn't have a lot of punch. Speaking of the same theme. But again, the weather is conducive to giving up homers today. It's Weather Edge is liking homers today in Cleveland. But if you look at, you got plate IQ, you have plate IQ up, I'm sure, Blender. It's all red. It's all red as far as Cleveland versus lefties, with the exception of one player. And even you, who doesn't watch the games, when I'm looking, that one player is, right? I assume you know that one player? Who's the one player on Cleveland?
The one player on who?
On Cleveland.
On Cleveland?
That's
Manny
not in red.
Ramirez. Ramirez.
Well,
Albert
no,
Bell. Is it Albert Bell? I haven't watched that Cleveland team in a long time. So
Carlos
I'm
Baerga.
assuming it's Julio Franco, right? It has to be him.
I ran into Julio Franco in a bowling alley during a baseball card show one time. It was really weird. People just started, like, all of a sudden, everyone's asking for Julio Franco cards. Like, yeah, Julio Franco cards? Like, no. Like, 3 people asked. I'm like, who? And he's just out there bowling. And he didn't have, like, a weird bowling style because I don't remember the way he hit. He had the really strange. Yeah.
Well, the people that are watching that are, like, in their 20s are wondering who the hell we're talking about.
Yeah. Who's Albert Bell? Who's Julio Franco? Yeah.
Well, they know Manny Ramirez. I mean, man, I think
they've heard of him. They read about him.
They've heard of him.
They read about him in those newspapers that you speak of. But yeah, J-Ram is the only guy that's shown power this year. To be fair, they haven't faced a ton of lefties, but it's weird. Lane Thomas has a 0 ISO in 21 at-bats. David Fry has a 0 ISO in 16 at-bats. Nolan Jones has a 0 ISO in 23 at-bats. Jonathan Rodriguez has a 0 ISO in 9 at-bats. Like, collectively, and that means none of them have an extra base hit. There's like 6 guys in this lineup that have a 0 ISO. Small samples versus lefties this year. It's hard to get enthusiastic, but and Lodolo, of course, has pretty good arsenal. He can miss bats, but he also can give up fly balls. There's Wu versus Arizona. Arizona is one of the toughest lineups to pick on as well, so who wants to pick on them? Livator is really, really awesome as far as getting ground balls. Like, no matter how much the wind is affecting things, he's taking out a Toronto team. I assume Vlad is back, right? Well, we don't have the lineup just yet, but Vlad did not play yesterday. I assume Vlad will be back today. No, I'm sorry. I'm getting Livator confused with somebody else. Pretty good ground ball guy, but not an absolute, like, a stud per se. But a pretty good pitcher as well. 3.64 Sierra on the season. And it all kind of leads to, if you're picking up for home runs, JP Sears is like he's given up 2 homers per 9. Now, part of that probably is, throwing baseballs in his ballpark there in parts unknown Sacramento. But this Angels lineup, there's some power guys over there. We're not going to have the lineup just yet, but I imagine we're going to get the regulars in. Solaris is back. Adele, Ohapi started yesterday, so maybe we get Darno. Not sure. Of course,
Adele plays for the Angels.
Yes, yeah. Also, Moonlights as a singer. Yes.
I'm like, that's. I mean, she's a great singer, but I didn't think that.
Sure. What's
The
your
Angels
favorite
really,
Adele song?
after they got rid of Ohtani, they really needed help, I guess. They're like, hey, we need
They
people
went a
out of
different
the ballpark.
direction.
Let's get Adele out here to.
It's more like just a concert and like a little baseball going on during the concert.
Right.
That's how they want a different angle. Adele, actually, I'm sure you know, was one time a monster prospect, one of the bigger prospects in baseball, and just never really got there. And kind of a quad A guy. Maybe he's figuring it out. I think he's still just 26.
Maybe he should have a singing career.
Maybe he should. I mean, who's saying he can't? You can do two things, right? Remember Bo Jackson? He played a couple sports. Deion Sanders.
Right. Yeah, well, Shaq had a rap career, right? I mean,
Fushnikins.
Right? I remember that.
You didn't think I had that one in the bag, did you?
I had his cassette. I bought his album. That cassette version.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of one of his songs. That's not quite coming to me. But Deion Sanders actually had a song too.
I wouldn't have remembered that until you mentioned it.
Yeah. Do want to say, did we officially say hello to the chat? What's up, chat? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. We got producer TJ as well. I'm sure he'll be chiming in. If nothing else, he'll be jumping on during crunch time. I'm not sure if Spidey is lurking. I don't want to speak. It's early. It's really early for TJ and for Spidey. So I don't know if we have Spidey bombs. But still, just hit the, Pavlov's dogs. Just hit the like button at this point. Just to, like, subscribe, notifications, all that. Shout out to J3. J3 is already crowning the Florida Panthers for winning the Stanley Cup. I wouldn't say that just yet, but we'll see. We'll see. They're up 2-1. Let's not get too excited. Also, Omar Vizquel was mentioning in chat. Remember Omar Vizquel? I'm sure you remember him.
Of course, great fielder. I mean, one of the best fielding shortstops ever.
Omar Vizquel, he was paired with Baerga, right? That was his second base.
Carlos Baerga, that's correct.
Yes.
Those were some great lineups for Cleveland. They didn't really have the pitching, but
1997.
Yeah, those lineups were brutally tough.
Marlins beat him in the World Series in 97. I think it was snowing in one of those games up there in Cleveland. So I don't know what to do with Luzardo. I can't believe he's 20%. I'm kind of surprised by that. I thought people would be
I don't think he's going to end up being Dean. He's not going to be 20% on. The thing here is that we have a lot of the pitching to be like very like even. I don't think it's going to be. I think what I think is we have like, okay, right now, I mean, I'm looking at SimLabs. I'm looking at Lineup HQ. Schwellenbach, we have at 31% owned. Then like Brian Wu at 26, Lodolo and Brown, 27 to 30. Then you got Luzardo at 20, Hendricks at 12, Sears at 11, Liberator at 9, Robleski at 7, Patrick at 8, Logan Allen at 6. I just don't think any of these things happen. I think Schwellenbach ends up being 50% owned. I think just at 9,500, you could fit in, like, salary is almost not a thing. Yeah, I mean, you could kind of fit in anything you want on this type of slate. And then we have plenty of hitting options. So I think a lot of lineups are going to be Schwellenbach plus one of Lodolo or Brown.
Yeah.
Who's going to be more owned, Lodolo or Brown? I can't be so sure. To me, that may be the close call of like Lodolo. If you think one person is more owned than the other, play the other guy because their optimal rates in our sims are about the same. Schwellenbach is by far the highest optimal rate pitcher. And Brian Wu is like, for 9,800, I think he's a fine, like, floor play. Like, I think Brian Wu gets 15 fantasy points today. Like, you don't have to, I don't think you have to worry about him getting blown up or something. I think he's fine. But then the rest of it is like, I don't want to play anyone. So, like, to me, like, I'm just going to eat, like, Schwellenbach plus one of Lodolo or Brown. And then when we talk about stacks, I mean, there's a lot more hitting options. I think you could make a case for nearly half the teams on the slate to stack from a hitting perspective. But pitching wise, like you're not. I mean, some of these guys are just like openers and relief pitchers.
But you're not messing with that nonsense.
You're not playing.
No.
I mean, I'm not playing Kyle Hendricks. I mean, truthfully,
the A's are bad.
Sears and Hendricks. I'm playing bats in that game, so I'm not playing pitchers.
Soriano had at least 11 strikeouts last night. He had a no-hitter into the 6th inning. I was watching that game. I know you weren't, but I was watching the Angels and the Athletics. This athletic, and they had a Jacob Wilson was scratched last night. They're already dealing with some injuries. This lineup could be bad if they.
What are they going to do without Jacob Wilson, though, Dean? He's such
I know you're making.
Am I saying
you're making a joke, but he significantly enhances that lineup.
Yeah, he's actually been really good. He's going to be the rookie of the year.
Take that, Sims.
Because I take a look at some of these lineups, especially for the garbage team, like the White Sox and the Rockies, and I go, like half the lineup, I'm like, did they just make up? Is this like MLB The Show or EA, whatever? Where we're gonna sim. These are the lineups that happen when you simulate like career mode and you're like 30 years in the future, and they have to like recreate and the fake players, right? That come up from the minors. And it's like that's what the lineup looks like.
Blender is Tim Elko. Is that a real person? Is that a real person that plays baseball?
Tim Elko. Well, I know that there's a town in Nevada called Elko.
Okay.
Is he from
Maybe
there?
I'm just making up a city. I don't know.
Well, I know the city exists.
You assume he owns the city? He's from there.
Or maybe it's Tim Elko.
I mean, there's somebody last name Dallas. They don't own the city. They don't own the city of Dallas. It doesn't work that way.
Maybe they do.
I don't know.
Well, this is a small enough city that I mean he could own it.
Yeah, I don't know if
so he's a first baseman for the White Sox.
Tim Elko. You go. Yes, he does play baseball professionally.
Okay, I mean I googled it.
Yeah,
you know how many times I've rostered playing 1 to 3 lineups. How many times I've played a White Sox stack this year?
0.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
but what about the gross stacks or what's the yucky stack? Well, what's the word you use? Vomit stacks. Yucky. Yeah, sometimes you don't have to be that ambitious. I don't
know why, but yucky stacks just genuinely made me laugh out loud. Like I laughed out loud and repeated it. Like that's how much it got to me.
Yucky stacks.
I think we're gonna point at that.
They're always vomit stacks. They make you want to vomit. Or if you're,
a little bit of White Sox
4 years old, they make you want to go yucky.
All right. So ownership wise, as we're seeing it right now, let's see if we get a refresh. Do we have a refresh coming in? I think because a little bit of a change. I'm not sure if that Yelich being out matters a ton necessarily. Ownership was updated about 8 minutes ago or so. So maybe we got a pretty fresh batch. We're seeing. I don't like Lodolo at 42% owned. Again, this Cleveland lineup has been horrific versus lefties this year outside of J-Ram. But there are some guys that theoretically have some power. They just haven't really flashed it. It's kind of a small sample. And I don't love that the ballpark is conducive to giving up homers, according to Weather Edge today. But again, you have to hit it for it to matter. Schwellenbach, 30%. Brown, 28% against the Philadelphia team at Suns. Bryce Harper. Wu against Arizona. He's not cheap, and I don't really like picking on Arizona. Maybe you get a little bit of a day game after a night game iteration of that Arizona lineup. I'm not sure if they're going to necessarily sit some of that Corbin. They usually sit him versus lefties. He probably is out there. Maybe Marte, who's been dealing with an injury, maybe he sits. I'm not sure. Just trying to think how life would be a little bit easier for Wu. But assuming you get the regulars for the D-backs, it's a tough lineup. Wu's a strike thrower, doesn't really walk anybody on the season. 3.7%. The K's are pretty good at 23%. Not elite. I assume the ballpark is closed. I did not check that, but I imagine
the whole ballpark. How are they letting fans in?
Well, no, there's a roof. They have a roof in Arizona.
The roof. You said the ballpark was closed. I'm like,
yeah.
So they're not playing. Where are they playing in the parking lot?
Many years ago, with Bill Veeck, Bill Veeck, one of the minor league guys, all the gimmicks. They had the no fans game. Do you remember that? Like they always want to have some weird records and do some goofy things in the minor leagues. And one of the gimmicks they had was no fans. They intentionally refused to let fans come in, and they wanted the attendance to be 0. And then I think once the game was official, like at 5.5 innings, they let everybody in for free or something like that. But that's what it reminded me of when you said there's no fans game. Check the Google.
That's actually our gimmick on this show. Like GrindersLive, we actually aim when we and you are on, Dean, because people look and they go, okay, we're going to talk about food probably for 10 minutes on this show.
Okay.
Because there's so many games, there's whatever. I mean, sometimes it's a busy slate, a lot of weather. Yeah, obviously we'll talk a lot more. But, our goal for our shows at this early in the morning is for 0 viewers. right? And then once crunch time comes, then then it's fine. Then everyone can come in. So really, we're like the Bill Veck, the no fans version of that. That our whole goal is to just, make sure
Everybody
that,
has a goal.
make sure the stream works, make sure everything is technically provisioned to set up for the real people.
Don't hit the like button. We don't want the algorithm to catch on. Don't hit the like button is what we should stress. Luzardo, by the way, is a dip down to 15%. So we were kind of on that one. Lodolo 42, Schwalbach 30.
I don't think people take at 8,800. Projections would say that you should play some of them, but I just don't. I think human beings just go, Luzardo's looked horrible for the past 2
He's
starts.
been awesome, though, to start the year. And again, if it was against a softer opponent, I would really like to pounce here. But I'm a little bit apprehensive.
I think in large field contests, I think Luzardo, if he comes in at single-digit owned, I think why not? I mean, look at McCullers. I mean, it's not like he didn't do great yesterday, but he came in, he was awful. And then for like 2 or 3 starts, looked like whatever. Brilliant.
Well, McCullers is different because he was gone from baseball for several years, and he was like, there's no velocity there. In his first couple starts, he was horrendous, and he kind of figured it out. Like you said, he sort of fell back to earth yesterday. Yesterday I lost American dollars, but I had one good take. It was not playing McCullers. I did not buy into the McCullers nonsense. But otherwise, it was not. I think we got bubbled, but no, we lost. It was not a good slate for your boy yesterday. But that's what's great about DFS, right? You start all over again. Let's do it all over. We start back at 0. But I like the single entry stuff. If you really want to have if you're going to put the sack out there, Luzardo, you probably can get 5% or 4% in single entry stuff. But Hendricks at 14%. That's just saying that the A's are not good.
That's what I mean by like the ownership. Like he probably should be around 10% owned. I just don't think he will be. I mean, truthfully, I want to play bats. That's to me the game to target for bats stacks wise. But I mean, you're not insane for playing Hendricks. I just don't think you need to. Like I'm probably going to be playing Schwellenbach plus Ben Brown. Because if Lodolo is going to be like significantly more owned than Ben Brown, like then I'm just going to play Ben Brown. If you think it's the other way, like I think Lodolo has slightly higher upside as far as strikeouts. But I mean, I don't think Ben Brown is bad either. I mean, I think they're
Kyle Hendricks is 14% Ks. It's just like, what is his upside? Again, this is Kyle is just like no Ks there.
Right. I mean, just like he's the type of guy that if he has a good start, he has to like go 6 innings, strike out 3, strike out 4, and give up no runs.
He needs some bad.
Hendricks gives up 3 or 4 runs, like he's done because he just doesn't strike out enough people.
All right.
Jesus, like Luzardo, like for instance, Luzardo could give up 4 runs today and still be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate.
He could strike out 8.
End up with 11 strikeouts. I mean, he's that type of pitcher.
Okay. Anything else as far as pitchers that we should note, or shall we scoot along? Somebody asked about Erod. I saw that. His first start off the IL, I think he threw like 71, 72 pitches. So like not fully stretched out probably. But let's see.
We have him at 85 pitches. On this slate when we already have options in these ranges, like why take a pitcher that first off needs to Erod is the type of pitcher, I mean, we've seen in the past that pitches 110 pitches and he's still not out of the 4th inning.
Right? He labors sometimes.
So why if he's going to be limited to maybe 80, 85, like dude, like you're dealing with a pitcher that a lot of times like he has 7 or 8 pitches per at bat because he just like loses control or gets cutesy on people. Like I just think the ceiling is just non-existent on a pitch count.
We got about a half hour until crunch time comes in. I believe it's Dave Potts, officially Dave Potts, subbing in for Cardi. TJ will be hosting. You got Stevie jumping on as well. Let's do today's tiers. What is today's tiers category?
Today's tiers category. I did it on behalf of June. Do you know what June 11th is? Today's Wednesday, June 11th. June 11th is a national day.
It's not like National Egg Roll was. We celebrated National Egg Roll Day the other day.
Okay, well, it's close.
Is it a real holiday, or is it like a?
Yes, it is a real holiday. It is acknowledged. Today is National Corn on the Cob Day.
Okay. I just gave a quick Google. National Making Life Beautiful Day, National German Chocolate Cake Day. I said, is this just like big German chocolate, like throwing some money to somebody and saying like, give us a day? I don't know how this stuff works.
The Making Life Beautiful Day, if you read the Making Life Beautiful Day,
I did.
That was actually started by some cosmetics company. So that's that Making Life Beautiful is already commercialized.
They paid somebody off. L'Oreal paid somebody off.
Day, it's meant to celebrate like picnics that are starting up because it's the beginning of
on
summer.
A Wednesday. It was a picnic on a Wednesday.
I mean, June 11th. I mean, it's June 11th. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be a Wednesday. But the thing is that once I saw, corn on the cob, like I like corn on the cob, like normal corn on the cob with butter or salt or whatever. But the best corn on the cob is Mexican street corn or elotes. I believe that's what they're called. And because they put the spices on it, whatever.
Is it spicier?
Mexican street corn.
I can't. Yeah. I've been asked for. I can't handle the spices, so I've always had to turn it down. But yeah, I'm a wimp. But continue.
Right.
You're a fan of the Mexican street corn,
right? Since it's very good, and that's a popular Mexican street food. So I said, why don't we do tiers of street foods?
From
around the world, and only street foods that I've eaten. And
calzone's not a street food. Nobody eats a calzone in the street. It's like a massive thing.
That's considered a street food.
Calzone? Who sells calzones in the street?
Maybe in Italy. I don't know.
Man, you find me nobody. The TJ,
you're right on that one.
Nobody sells calzones. In
Brooklyn, I could go to the window of a pizzeria and get a calzone.
That's not the street.
That's the street. I'm on the sidewalk.
No. You can go to the window of a pizzeria. That is not the spirit of what street food is. I'm sorry.
Dean's right on this one, but I will also. I just wanted to chime in on the calzone front. The random bit on Parks and Recreation about calzones is one of my favorite jokes in that whole show.
I don't remember it. I've seen the show. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I would recommend it, but I don't remember. Is it one episode or is it a running bit?
No, it's a running joke throughout the entire thing that Ben Wyatt loves calzones and everyone just gives him a super tough time for it. But I can confirm, even in Italy, they don't sell it as a street food.
No, Trey says that in Italy it's 100% street food.
Okay, so one place in the world that's a street food.
That means that we've solved it.
They don't really have much street food in Italy. They just have a bunch of little cafes and bakeries.
Okay.
Like there's a bunch of like pizzerias that you can sit down at, like a little outdoor patio cafe, like we would have as like a coffee shop here, but not like a street vendor.
And as you could argue, very liberal interpretation, you could call that street food, and if you really want to, you're eating it kind of, sort of, somewhat on the street.
Well, here's the question, TJ, come back. Is this because the thing is about this tiers? I also excluded like dessert type of stuff, like churros are a street food. But it's not like you don't eat that for dinner.
Carnival
right?
food.
Like that's like a Belgian waffle. You don't have that. You like
my number one street. This is kind of on of what you're talking about, but because it can be somewhat desserty, but it doesn't have to be. My number one street food is crepes. If you go, like that's number one for me.
Right, but typically that's more of a dessert than a main.
What about a Euro? Euro's kind of a street food.
Yeah. But I was going to ask
the
street food that I hate the most, but it's not handheld. To me, one of the worst. I mean, souvlaki is the worst by far, but I'm not a big fan of like putting yogurt on meat. So that's automatic.
I don't know what that is. That sounds bad.
Mediterranean stuff always
you
just
don't need to get the souvlaki and tzatziki.
It still doesn't matter. I don't like any of this stuff. I don't like lamb. Get out of here. But the worst has to be. Worst street food. I'm assuming this is street food. Maybe not where you are, TJ. I just don't get this. I really don't. Poutine is awful.
Oh,
well, that's just not true. But also, it's not street food.
It's considered based on Google ChatGPT. It's a street food, or whatever.
Well, yeah, you can't trust that's you just got
AI
two and three strikes right there.
I'll say this: I've been to Toronto a couple times, and they do sell poutine on the street. Like that is something like you'll see like somebody would sell hot dogs in New York. I've seen poutine. Now I don't know if that's
fries or street food. Then I guess poutine would be.
By the way,
fries and street food.
A side note, just as like put this in your back pocket. You mentioned calzones. You're not touting calzones because you have them in the 4-hole. First of all, that's wrong. They're pretty good. Throw away the ricotta.
None of these are bad. These aren't like bad. Like these aren't like bad. Like ceviche, I put at the bottom. And the main problem I have with ceviche is that the portions are too small. Like if you're gonna have some like Peruvian marinated fish and a little taco type of thing, like dude, you got to give me more than like a bite full of stuff. Like it's got to be more than that.
Ultimately, I agree with Mr. Gerg. I have never heard of any of these except for calzone, and I think he plays for the Mariners.
No, you know. Okay, so now, Dean, you've had a Jamaican beef patty before, right?
I've seen them before. They look very unappealing. In South Florida, there's a store right around me that sells them. I've not been adventurous, but they don't look good. So I just
they're all that.
They look like Pop-Tarts. They look like Pop-Tarts with beef inside.
Yes, it's like a Pop-Tart with like it's got with a pouch with meat, and then typically if you go to a place or a cart that sells them, you'll get cocoa bread, which is like coconut bread. And obviously, I'm from New York, so there's that big Jamaican population. Sure. So in Jamaican beef patties in New York City were like lunch meals for like public schools.
Yeah,
I was.
Oh, but we had that too. Yeah, we had that in public school as well. Yeah, that was a thing.
Those weren't all that great. They were fine, but they're not as good as actually going to a place. Not a microwavable, store bought Jamaican beef patty. But that's what Jamaican beef patties are, and they're great. Just don't ask what's in the meat, right? You look at the meat
it's
and
goat,
be
right?
Like I'm not sure what animal this is. Whatever. Yeah. Just don't ask questions. Number 2, you must have had bao, any type of bao or bao. I mean, the Chinese steamed pork buns.
Oh yeah. Oh, those are great. Yeah.
Right. Okay. See, TJ's probably had a steamed pork bun before, and maybe not from a bad takeout place. Like you want to get it from a good Chinese. I mean, they also there's like Singaporean versions. There's Thai. All the you could get a steamed bun of something from most Asian countries.
Can you find good bao in Kentucky?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Here in Louisville, there's 2 or 3 Vietnamese places that are better than anything I've eaten in New York City.
That's a bold proclamation, sir.
No, dude, bold take, but I mean, because we have a Vietnamese population in a certain area here, and it's a place it's a good Vietnamese place where you walk in, and all you see are Vietnamese people, and the menu isn't in English. The menu is sort of in English, and it has numbers there.
Yeah.
Because if you're dumb, just order by number because you can't pronounce this word anyway.
It's not being dumb necessarily. It's just not known Vietnamese.
But that's
fair enough.
That's where number 1 comes from. Goi Kun, which is spelt wrong because it's with a C, but whatever. You probably had these are the rice noodle spring rolls. So it's thin rice noodle. It's like think of an egg roll, but it's a rice noodle, very thin, and
absolutely
inside are
delicious
vermicelli noodles.
Not a street food, and I didn't know they were called that.
TJ makes a good point. It's not a street food. I don't think you know what a street food is. I think we've concluded that. You don't know what street food is.
I've used Google AI to tell me that.
That could not be the worst. Like you could not find a worse source than that. It is wrong over 50% of the time.
You might as well use Bing at this point,
dude.
You might as well ask a toddler and you get a better response.
I told you. I give myself. I sacrifice myself to the AI overlords.
Sacrificing yourself and the planet to get wrong answers.
Is this why I'm not doing well with SimLabs? Is that bad also?
And what's in the? Did you mention what's in the 5-hole?
What in the 5-hole? What's
in the 5th spot? What is that? Ceviche?
Peruvian ceviche. You've never had ceviche before?
I'm not sure. Elaborate.
Marinate. It's like like little pieces of fish and fruit.
Nope, I've not
Marinated
had that.
typically with like some type of lemon sauce or whatever. You've never had that?
I don't think so. I'm kind of out on fish.
Florida. You're in Florida and you've never had ceviche before?
I don't think so. I'm sure. Yeah, it's possible I have. I just don't recall. I'm not sure. But that is our 5 tiers. We did get to Toronto, by the way. Toronto lineup just came on through. Barger is not playing baseball today for TJ's Blue Jays. Bichette, Guerrero, Kirk, Springer, Clement, Schneider, Straw, Clase. Kirk is DHing, so we have two catchers in there. Heineman is doing the catching in the 9 hole. Let's see. We still have some more lineups. Obviously, we said some 4 o'clock games. If we don't get them, we'll get them at some point during the slates. Let's talk about the first game.
I would like to put in my rebuttal that according to this article on the origin of calzones, it's considered a street food, particularly in Naples, Italy, where it originated.
1812. The origin. What year was the origin?
It was originally designed as a portable handheld pizza, allowing people
and then it got bigger.
Their favorite flavors while on the go. The name calzone even translates to trouser legs, suggesting its design was meant for walking and eating. How is that not a street food? It's literally.
I love that it was. I like that.
Food has nothing to do with it being a street food. A street food is something vendors sell on the street. It doesn't mean you get to take it with you on the go. A sandwich.
You're on the street eating it.
If I make a peanut butter sandwich, that's not a street food.
It could be.
Blender, Family Feud. Steve Harvey says, name a street food, and then somebody says calzone. Is that a big old X, or is it on the board?
Of course. But I mean, I didn't put it like, obviously the ones that are going to be on Family Feud are going to be like American ones, like hot dogs, and stuff like that. Obviously, but I didn't want to just do American street food. That's
you want to show how cultured you
stuff
are.
That we normally eat. See, Trey's like their street vendor selling calzones today. Of course.
No, he says LOL. No. You left out the LOL part. He's laughing at you, suggesting that. He says LOL like this. Of course, that's ridiculous. He knows it's ridiculous. You're misinterpreting what he's saying, I believe. All right, we got to move on here, Blender. We have to knock out it's 14 teams. I got to throw them some tiers. Crunch time coming on in 20 minutes or so. We'll ask Dave. How about this? Whatever Dave Potts says, we'll go with that. Is that fair? We can ask Stevie. You have your choice. Dealer's choice. You want to ask Stevie?
I'll probably ask Dave because Stevie never agrees with
me. He doesn't agree with me either, so it's a tough call.
Even if it's not street food, I mean, are all these things pretty good to eat?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I think it's a pretty good selection. Bed Brown is throwing baseballs versus Jesus Luzardo. 9 total, kind of a coin toss. Philly is a slight favorite here. Again, Luzardo has been a stone disaster. Like, honestly, Kike Hernandez has been a better pitcher of late than Jesus Luzardo. And the Cubs are a tough offense, obviously, but I'm not ready to say he's toast. It's just a bad run and just some really goofy stuff for 2 starts, small sample, yada, yada. Where do you have the Cubbies and the Phillies on the board?
I mean, I'm not playing the Phillies today. I mean, we're gonna probably have 1 or 2 ceviche stacks because it is a 7-game slate. But the Phillies are getting that calzone in Naples in the street, right?
Nowhere else to get it.
I'm gonna go on this mission to find. I'm gonna go on Instagram and I'm gonna find some guy that sells calzones on the street just to shove it in your face. But yeah, so the Phillies are in calzone, and the thing about the Cubs, the thing is I think Luzardo goes underowned, and I think the Cubs go underowned also. So I think this is a good spot that I wouldn't put the Cubs in Goycoon, but they're a pork bun. But I mean, understand that if Luzardo is, early season Luzardo, the Cubs are an awful team to stack. But if it's like the last 2 starts, they may be the best team to stack. And I just think both sides end up being underowned. So, I'm going to put Okay. Oh, you're changing everything to English.
TJ's making some edits. He's using his power
Isn't
of
that like? Aren't we like
he's Americanizing it?
watching?
Yeah.
Aren't we not supposed to? I went to call it by their actual names, right?
By the way, no PCA left on left. He's not in that Chicago lineup today. Tucker, their best hitter. Luzardo, just worth noting, 72 appearances today, 72 at bats versus lefties, 44% strikeouts. Only one lefty in the lineup because Chicago knows that. They didn't take Tucker out. But Luzardo's been awesome left on left. So Tucker is just, he's hard to roster outside of a stack. I just couldn't do it. By the way, I just want to tell you one more thing as far as you mentioned Calzone. The thing that Big Calzone doesn't want you to know, Blender, you want to know what it is?
What?
Strombolis are better. That's it.
I agree with you.
It's not even close.
No,
it's not. They throw the ricotta out. It's not as bready. No. Well, calzone. The only thing that's going for it is that funny shape.
And eat it. It's portable. It's the go.
Okay, you brought it up.
Why do I need this extra bread on top of my pizza?
I have to interject. Stromboli is definitely not a street food.
Well, it's the same thing except no ricotta and it's straight.
No, Strombolis are bigger. You don't get Strombolis on a cart or anything. Calzones are the Stromboli. Like Stromboli is like the sit-down version of the calzone. Calzone, you're walking and eating with the calzone. You don't walk.
Nobody is walking and eating with the calzone. I want to say that's not happening. I've never seen anybody walking and eating with a calzone.
The AI told me it was trouser food or something.
It tells you a lot of things. Okay. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Logan Allen taking on Nick Lodolo. We mentioned how bad this Cleveland lineup has been versus lefties. It's horrific outside of J-Ram. We also mentioned that, Weather Edge really likes this game as far as, potentially getting a boost in homers. Last we saw, let me give it a refresh, 19.8% as far as a boost when it comes to expected home runs, at least in 127 previous games. That's how it's gone down, with 80 as far as the temp, winds blowing out to center, right field, 10 miles per hour, 21% boost in runs as well. We didn't talk about the Reds. Of course, you can always play, get yourself some Elly De La Cruz. CES has been good since coming back from his injury. Otherwise, that lineup is it's pretty gross. There's a lot of pretty gross hitters in this lineup, both these teams, but some really good ones too. Obviously, J-Ram and De La Cruz, good starting point. Your thoughts, Reds, Guardians?
Guardians, I mean, is like the leverage stack of Lodolo is going to be like 40% owned. I'm not big on playing the Guardian stack, but I mean, just from a leverage standpoint, you got to throw him in a calzone. Feel free to throw him in a Stromboli too, if you'd like. And the Reds, I outside of the Athletics Angels game, I think the Reds are the best stack on the slate. I mean, they're going with my pork and shrimp in the Vietnamese spring roll. And they're pretty cheap. I mean, like outside of Elly De La Cruz, I mean, you could play Schwellenbach, Ben Brown. You could stack like the top 5 guys and still have money. You could still play Ohtani in your lineup if you want. So like,
we'll talk about Ohtani. He's like the best hitter in the world facing the worst possible pitcher, maybe throwing baseballs, especially against lefties. We'll have that conversation. I generally don't love to like go out of my way to spend up on the big hitter. I just like to say, okay, if they hit 2 homers, so whatever, it beats me. But man, Ohtani looks incredible today. We'll get there in a second. Atlanta, Milwaukee, 7.5 is the total. Schwellenbach, -170 favorite. Still no Christian Yelich for this Milwaukee team. A 3.3 team total. That's pretty putrid. This Atlanta team has been gutless basically all season long. You got your regulars in there, Acuna, Baldwin, Riley, Matt Olson, who still has his continued game streaks playing, 500-600, something like that. He's got a big old he's shooting for Cal Ripken for sure. Harris, White, and then Allen. Braves, Brewers. What do you got?
Well, the Brewers were throwing in the bottom tier. They may be the only bottom tier team. I mean, I'm playing Schwellenbach, and I mean the Brewers are just. I mean, they're overpriced. I mean, the top of the order is overpriced to begin with. Atlanta, should they be better this year? Yeah. They'll probably be underowned today for their price. I mean, they only have a 4.06 implied team total. So, I mean, at best, I'd say they're Jamaican beef patty. I mean, they always, at some point, the Braves are gonna explode at some point. And hopefully I still have a bankroll when that happens. So, like yes, the Braves.
If you're martingelling the Braves, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played them that much this season, but anytime the Braves were in a good spot at fairly low ownership, they didn't do well.
Still waiting for go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying I'm willing to take a shot on a slate where, like, their total is not all that dramatically different from most of the totals on the slate anyway.
I'm still waiting for Acuna to steal a base. I don't know if he's apprehensive. He hasn't quite found the spot just yet, but that's a big part of his game. Of course, coming back from a knee injury, maybe he's a little tentative, not sure, but I would like him to add that to his game. Toronto, St. Louis, Liberatore taking on the combination of Eric Lauer and presumptively Spencer Turnbull. So they're going to go left-right is the assumption here as far as the Blue Jays. Did mention this is a good weather game. Traditionally, it's kind of a slight lean there to pitchers in St. Louis. It's expected to play a little bit more hitter-friendly today, according to Weather Edge. It's going to be hot in the 80s, the high 80s, and 124 previous games with similar temp, similar dew, similar wind, 14.7% boost in homers, almost a 20% boost in runs. Where do you have TJ's Blue Jays and STL Cards?
I'm not necessarily a big fan of this game in general. I mean, this seems like the type of game that's going to be like, 5-4 or something like that. Not a big fan of the pitchers. I'm not a big fan of, other than, even the pricing is not like cheap. I mean, the Vlad is the Ponzi scheme this year, I guess. So feel free to play Vlad at 4,500.
He just signed his 10-year deal just in time. 10 years, yes. TJ. 10 years, 250 million, 300 million, 500 million. It's like 500 million. It's a lot of money. Good for Toronto to sign a free agent, I suppose.
Great deal. I'm thrilled about it.
Oh, my. Can I check back in like 4 years?
I want him there for his whole career. They're the third best team in the AL. What are we complaining about?
It was okay. I'm sorry. 14 years, $500 million.
Yeah.
Do you see Giancarlo Stanton? That is your future.
Giancarlo Stanton player in baseball who's a homegrown talent who wants to stay there for his whole career.
Well, because nobody else is willing to give him 14 years.
Well, that's not true.
Nobody wanted to give Vlad 14 years.
How do you know he didn't reach free agency?
Because he's going to be 1,000 when he's they're going to buy him out the last couple of years.
How old do you think he is?
28, 29?
No.
How old is he? 27?
26.
He's 26.
26.
Dean, okay, what do you think that Vlad's going to end up with, like the Bobby Bonilla type of contract?
they would love to have that. Only $1 million for the next 100 years, whatever it is. But 14 years is a lot. It's a few too many years for my liking. But good for Toronto, for real. Good for Toronto.
I want to address Stevie. I purposely did not choose any American street foods.
Mm.
And tacos. I know it's Mexican, but obviously that's an American street food for the most part.
I Googled Vladimir Guerrero age and I got 50. So I'm assuming he's 50 years old.
Oh, that's what Google AI says?
I didn't put Junior. His dad's 50 years old.
Oh, you didn't? Well, you could have put Junior. Maybe you would have. Maybe you would have thought that Vlad Guerrero Jr. was a street food also.
Just as much as calzone is. All right. Let's continue. Let's move on. Let's throw the Mariners.
I got to put both Toronto and St. Louis in Jamaican beef patty.
Okay.
I prefer the Blue Jays over the Cardinals, but they're like there.
So you're doing tiers of tiers. Is that what you're doing? You got the Blue Jays over the Cardinals.
The two. I don't think the Cardinals are to be calzone. I don't think that the Blue Jays should be in the pork bun. So they're both in Jamaican beef patty.
Seattle, Arizona, Erod taking on Brian Wu. We have no lineups just yet, unless something just came out. I don't believe it did. So we're going in blind here as far as the rankings. We have to assume the regulars are in there unless otherwise noted. Wu, one of the better pitchers, not one I necessarily like to pick on, but of course Arizona, one of the better offenses in baseball. Erod just coming back from his injury, threw with 70-ish or so pitches. It is a ballpark bump for the Mariners. Big dumper, Kyle Rowley. He almost got one again last night. I don't know if you saw, he was robbed in the outfield by, I think it was Gurriel who got him, the left fielder. He's just been outrageous this season. Not just an incredible hitting catcher, just an incredible hitter. It's basically been him, Judge, and Ohtani as the 3 best hitters in all of Major League Baseball. Where do you have the Mariners and Arizona?
Arizona against Wu, I just don't think the upside is there. I put Arizona in put them in the bottom of calzone. They're probably not ceviche, but they're in the bottom of calzone. And Seattle is actually one of the higher optimal rate stacks according to our Sims on the slate. I don't mind playing against Eduardo Rodriguez, and the good thing is that most of this projected lineup are righties, so you're probably getting a ton of at bats, not as much platoon hitting. So like that middle of that order with Rosarina, Dylan Moore, you could play like a cheap Solano. The bottom of the lineup is very cheap, so I think Seattle's a steamed pork bun. I mean, it's close to even a Vietnamese spring roll, but Seattle's up there. I'm playing one lineup. I don't think I play Seattle today, but if I had 3 lineups, one of them would be a Seattle lineup.
All right, 2 more games to go. Crunch time coming in about 5 minutes or so. We have the Athletics taking on the Angels, 9.5 total. Kyle Hendricks, we mentioned, one of the weaker pitchers, but the Athletics, big downgrade as far as their ballpark. I shouldn't say big, but it's definitely a downgrade. We're not sure about Jacob Wilson. He was a late scratch yesterday. We're currently projecting him in, but it would be a downgrade if he is out. JP Sears has given up the most home runs on this slate, 2 homers per 9. That's a lot. There is some righty power on that Angels side. Ward and Trout and Soler historically. Where do you have the Athletics and the Angels?
This is my favorite game for offense on the entire slate. Both sides, I prefer the Angels. Obviously, they have the highest, the second highest implied team total on the slate. And they're cheap. There are pieces cheap enough where you could play, Soler and Shanuel, even though he's not like a power hitter. Like if you're playing in a stack, I think 3,300 is fine. And then you got, Joe Adell is cheap. And the bottom of the order kind of sucks. But yeah, the Angels are top tier stack, and the Athletics are right behind it. So I'd put Athletics at the top of the pork bun, and the Angels at they're in the Goy Coon. They're the top, probably the top stack on the slate, based on just total. JP Sears, if he gives up 2 home runs and the Angels score 8 runs, I think the Angels are the top stack on the slate, and I think that is much more likely to happen today.
Last game on the board, the aforementioned the rivalry, the Dodgers and the Padres. Dodgers bullpen a little bit more rested now. They had a long man throw 115 pitches or so yesterday. They had Enrique Kike Hernandez throw 3 innings, I believe, last night, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. And again, they need another opener because the Dodgers don't really have any pitchers. Ben Kasparius will be opening. We're presuming that it's going to be Robleski coming in afterwards. That's Justin Robleski. Randy Vasquez, who, man, if you dig into his numbers, are they gross? He's got a 3.69 ERA and good for him, but the Sierra is a 5.68. His K rate is just barely above the walk rate, 13.4% Ks, 12.3% walks. He's been lucky as far as BABIP. He's been lucky as far as left on base. If you look at the Ohtani versus Vasquez matchup, it's just, Ohtani versus righties, a 380 ISO, a 433 WOBA, and Vasquez this year is striking out 10.9% of lefties and a 209 ISO, almost a 400 WOBA. It's just an incredible matchup. You always say, like, no matter how good the pitcher, no matter how good the hitter is, no matter how bad the pitcher is, the pitcher always has the advantage. This might be the one rare occasion where most likely outcome might be Ohtani getting a base hit or getting on base in some capacity. But all right, Dodgers, Padres, what do you have?
The Dodgers. The problem with the Dodgers is that the stack is very expensive. Unless you're going to play some cheap pitcher, it's going to be tough to play a good Dodgers stack. So for that reason, I'm putting the Dodgers in like the Jamaican beef patty. They have the highest upside, but you're gonna have to punt in some spots and hope for the best. And the Padres are okay. So maybe the top of calzone. They're the topping of the. I mean, I'm not a big fan of playing these like bullpen type of games with stacks because, they got these lefties in the lineup and Robleski's going to come in, then a righty's going to come in, and then a lefty's going to come in. So like guys like Gavin Sheets and Jake Cronenworth are always like, who knows what happens there. And I'm not a big fan of like the platoon guys in stacks when, they're dealing with, bullpen-like games. So that's why the Padres get downgraded a bit. But I mean, I think the Dodgers probably score a bunch of runs. The thing is, do they score enough runs where the stack is worth playing at their prices? It may just be the type of game where, Ohtani and Will Smith both like have 4 RBIs each, and you really just needed them, and you didn't need anyone else. It may be one of those types of things. So I'm much more likely to play the Dodgers as one-offs, and I'd rather play today. My top stacks of today are the Angels and the Reds.
Let's give a recap of the board, Blender. I know Crunch Time's coming in here shortly. I saw Stevie hanging out there in chat. I don't think he loved your board necessarily. I'm sure he'll chime in as we cross over. Dave Potts, Cheese is Good. He's jumping in as well. TJ, of course, is going to become an analyst as well as, spinning the plate of producing. Number 1 tier, Vietnamese spring roll. It's Cincinnati and the Angels. The second tier, the pork bun. That's the Cubs, the Mariners, the Athletics. Right there in the middle, Jamaican beef patty. I'm assuming beef. Beef is standard, right?
Yeah.
It's standard. Yeah. Braves, Toronto, Dodgers, and the Cardinals. Calzone. Again, if you're probably confused, what do they rank? Well, this is allegedly calzone is a street food in some parts of the world. Philadelphia,
the thing
Cleveland.
Is, calzone is actually the most street foody thing on this whole list, and it's
none of it's street food.
Only a street food.
Jamaican beef patty is a Jamaican calzone. I mean, really, we're considering a Jamaican beef
a smaller
patty.
version. They're smaller.
They're
much smaller.
Have you had real size one, Dean? You've been getting the mini ones from the supermarket.
No, I have.
You get ones that are.
I just know calzones are
not
huge.
As big as you can get mini calzones. Hey, there are places that have calzones that are. Dude, have you ever ordered a calzone from a takeout type of place, like a Papa John's? They'll have a calzone like.
You lost me at Papa John's. That your arguments when you bring Papa John's and pizza, you just lost.
Yeah, but I mean,
you're a New Yorker.
Those are smaller when they're like selling. Like calzones are typically very big.
You would lose your New York credibility if you ordered Papa John's while in New York. I mean, your friends would call you out on it, I would imagine. No?
I don't even understand the fact that Domino's exists in New York and there's a Pizza Hut in New York.
I know.
My mind. Who goes there?
You got to go to my favorite pizza shop in New York. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. Sbarro's. Have you heard of Sbarro's?
Yeah, the one by Madison Square Garden. Yeah, you gotta go to that one over there. Authentic.
That's the best one.
Yeah.
The flagship Sbarro's. Calzone's got Philadelphia, Cleveland, Arizona, San Diego, and ceviche. Am I pronounce that correctly?
Ceviche. You've obviously had ceviche before. Come on.
I don't know. But the Brewers are hanging out with ceviche. That's the board. I was going to ask you to give me some homer picks, but you would just regurgitate the bats, I presume. But do you have anybody? Do you want to? I mean, do I dare ask if you have anybody that's going to hit a home run?
You want my home run picks?
I mean, I probably don't, but I'm asking anyway.
Well, George
I know what I'm asking
plus
for.
550. A superhero told me that would be good. I mean, it's scrolling on the bottom.
Okay, yeah, that's Spidey Bob number 1. Spidey Bob number 2 is on layaway. If we get that like button hit just enough, but we did them on layaway. Now they're officially fully assembled. It's crunch time. We got Dave Potts. We got Stevie. We have TJ as well. Let's do it. Let's transition to crunch time right now. Dave got the call to the bullpen. I figured Dave will be, napping, in between the articles, but appreciate you jumping on.
It's just putting a dent in lunchtime preparations, so normally I would be just staring longingly into the fridge right now. But I'll still make it in time for lunch. I just don't have my usual time to think about preparing for it.
Dave, if you leave your house and on the street, maybe you'll be able to find a calzone. I don't know where you are.
Oh, you're leading the witness.
I promise there is not a calzone on the street nearby. I can get one at a restaurant downtown, but they're not just like wandering around the street here.
Is anything on this list wandering around the street?
Yeah, but Dave, no, wait, hold on. Dave's in Alabama. I don't think a lot
Jamaican
of
patties are huge in Alabama.
Yeah,
we have a lot of food trucks, but they're not here regularly. They're only on occasions. Like it needs to be like, hey, next Friday is Food Truck Friday. They're not just like always there. We have them, but yeah, on a random Wednesday, I'm not going to get one.
If I were to ask you to make a list of street food, how many names would you come up with before you say, you know what, maybe calzone?
It would be a while.
You would say you're out before you say that. I'm out.
Yeah, I would probably not. I would probably just not get to it. I'm not opposed to the idea. It's an interesting idea, but it never would have crossed my mind as an option. Fair
enough. Blender, are you willing to accept that? Maybe
I get that. I excluded any. I wanted handhelds, so that's why I didn't have poutine on the list.
Tacos are handheld.
Tacos and hot dogs and
burgers. I don't want American street American street food would be like stupid. Oh. That's like you get that anywhere.
Why is it stupid?
Tacos aren't even American.
Like how do I rank a hot dog?
Tacos are Mexican food.
Mexican is normal. It's normal.
And by the way, it was International like Corn on the Cob Day. You didn't have corn on the cob on the board, like as an homage.
Elotes on the list. No,
that was the whole inspiration for the list.
Mexican street corn is great.
Oh, but why is it not on the board then? Give it some love. Give it some shine.
What you say that these things aren't even street food? Dude, Google AI gave me a list of like 187 different street foods, and I picked from that list. You tell me to do these tiers at 2 a.m. before I come on. I'm like, oh my God, what's today? Google says it's National Corn on the Cob Day. I can't name 5 corn on the cobs, but what is corn on the cob? Oh, it's a street food. So it's like, okay, AI, tell me what street foods exist, and I'll pick out the ones that I like. And these are the ones that I like.
I feel like corn on the cob's even barely a street food.
More so than the others. I would say that's actually a street food.
Steve, get out of here, you two.
Yeah, all right.
Can we just say, since Blender's not on here a lot, like we come on, we see a lot of lists. Like this was not an egregious list. Like he just like this was a pretty fine list as the lists go. There have been a lot of terrible lists. This was not a terrible list. It was just unusual.
I think it was. Stevie, give us your thoughts on the list.
Well, okay, if he's leaving out American street food, which I don't know how tacos is American street food, but I get your list, right? Like I understand it more. The fact that empanadas is still not on there because that's not really American like street food,
right?
Or like a Mexican corn, like the elote corn. Some of the best street food you can get. Like,
well, we could go because it was National Corn on the Cob Day, so it's like I didn't want to put that on the list as well. But like all these foods are good. Like other than poutine's awful, and souvlaki's awful.
And ceviche is terrible, so yeah.
What do you have against fries and gravy?
They don't go together. I never would think of putting gravy.
Exactly. That's what it's for. Get out of here. Let's get these two guys out of here. Let's start talking about some baseball. It's time for MLB Crunch Time. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, we got Stevietpfl. Stevie, how you doing?
I'm good. I already had lunch, Dave. I know you were on the lunch train, but I made an early lunch because I have to leave like right after we're done to head down and check our volleyball team in for nationals. So like
you'd be in a tough time zone to do lunch after this because I'm an hour behind you. So I'm kind of, but if I were you, I think that's the right call. Even if you didn't have to leave after this, I would probably support that.
I made some like chicken and apple sausage with some broccoli and some rice. It was it hit the spot.
All right. I haven't even actually had breakfast yet, but we'll get there after this show. It's earlier for me than it is for you guys. Cheese, Dave Potts, how you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah. We kind of TJ and I talked about this already a little bit, like amazing hitting slate where you kind of want all the bats everywhere. For such a small slate, there's a ton to like. So it's good.
Let's start diving into it. Stevie, I'll throw it to you first. Why don't you give us your little 30, 40? I don't remember how many 1,000-foot view it's supposed to be, but give us your overview.
This slate kind of stinks. I mean, I'll sum it up like that. I think that when you're looking at the pitching part of this slate, outside of like Schwallenbach, there's a wide range of outcomes for basically anybody else. So I think Schwallenbach is going to see quite a bit of ownership. But yeah, I mean, looking at the slate as the slate has kind of shaped up, Lodolo looks a little interesting. So we'll talk more pitchers here in a minute. But I think there's plenty of bats to choose from. That whole like game in Anaheim is good with the Athletics and the Angels, both really good spots. The St. Louis bats look pretty interesting today. The Reds against Allen. And I mean, the Dodgers are facing quite possibly the worst pitcher on the slate in Randy Vasquez, who we should start naming the magician because he just keeps getting very lucky. But yeah, I mean, a lot of bats to choose from. It's just going to be kind of narrowing down what pitchers you want to pair with those bats on the slate.
Cheese, like you said earlier, we chatted a little bit pre-show. Pitching, it's like Stevie said, it's tough outside Schwallenbach, but frankly, there is not a single stack on the slate that I don't think is viable.
Yeah, I think it's one of these, if you're doing like, I would say like 30 lineups or fewer, I think you need to just take a couple stands and just cross some great offenses off the list and realize you might just lose. Like any one of these teams could score 12 runs. But I don't think, unless you're going like 150 lineups or at least, 50 or a ton, you can't just say, I'm going to play 2 or 3 of every stack. I think you got to just cross a couple off the list and just hope you get it right. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
Thankfully, I'm playing 150 today, so I don't have to worry about that all too much. I can just play almost everybody. Teams I'm getting to the least are Milwaukee and Cincinnati, but even then, there's some one-offs on those teams I really like. Stevie, let's talk about pitching. We got Spencer Schwallenbach going fairly highly owned, but he's also got a super high optimal rate. And then we have Nick Lodolo, who almost has twice the ownership percentage as I guess his optimal rate has gone up here. It was in the 20s before earlier in the day, but Lodolo projecting for 40+% ownership, Schwallenbach for 30+% ownership. Would those be, if you were a cash game guy, would those be your cash game pitchers? And then who do you like in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think Schwallenbach, Lodolo, Ben Brown would be the 3 that I would kind of highlight for cash games today. I'd pick 2 of those guys. Personally, I think Schwallenbach's even better now. Like Yelich is out of the lineup. He gets a weaker Milwaukee lineup. Yelich makes a huge deal because now the lineup just overall is a lot worse. So I think this is a good spot for Schwallenbach. My issue with Schwallenbach is he doesn't strike out lefties as much as he strikes out righties. And there's only 3 lefties in this lineup today. So he kind of benefits from that. He gets a lot of right-handed hitters. It's just, on paper, the best matchup. Ownership-wise, you don't love it. I like the spot for Lodolo. This Cleveland lineup has really struggled against left-handed pitching this season. He's not like this huge strikeout guy, but I think he could go out and have 6 quality innings, maybe give up a run or 2, pick up a few strikeouts, just have a really quality game in that one. So, and then Ben Brown has a really nice upside ceiling because he does have a 27% K rate. His whiff rate is high. His swinging strike rate is high. He's been a good strikeout pitcher this year. And you look at this Philly lineup and no Harper, so that's a bump to him. But you still got to face Schwarber, Turner. Like the top half of this lineup is still very good, but the bottom half is really bad. So I think Ben Brown is like that, third piece of cash, but like a great tournament option. And I could see going like Ben Brown, Lodolo in tournaments instead of Schwallenbach to be different. The guy that's just not making the cut for me today is Brian Wu. Arizona is one of the best teams in baseball against right-handed pitching, so I don't really have a lot of interest in Wu. I did earlier today have some interest in Wroblewski, but with him kind of being that long relief role outside of starting, I don't really have a lot of interest in him anymore. I just untagged him and deleted my write-up for him on Lineup HQ for the early slate. So really just kind of focusing around Schwallenbach, Lodolo, Brown, And that's basically it for me. I'm not playing a ton of teams, so just kind of building around those 3 pitchers.
Cheese, who are you going to be prioritizing in pitcher today? I find myself actually getting Ben Brown as my highest owned with Schwellenbach right behind him. In a vacuum, I like Lodolo, but I'm having trouble getting on board with that heavy projected ownership.
Yeah, Ben Brown is my highest owned by a ton. Of course, I like Schwellenbach better, but you can really use salary today. So I have, you'll notice I tagged Lodolo and Brown instead of Schwellenbach just because of salary, so I can play Ohtani and Freeman and everyone on this slate and Mike Trout, go on and on. After those 3, the only other guy even in my pool at all is Eduardo Rodriguez. Just the guy who's cheaper, who can be fine. I think he's probably should be back to close to a normal-ish pitch count. Maybe he gets a couple extra strikeouts, and when he gives up a couple home runs, hopefully there's no one on base. So I think he's fine. But basically, yeah, those top 3 are just kind of tier of their own. And I wouldn't goof around with anything else. I just don't know what the point would be.
I'm doing a little goofing around in my 150 max setting. I do have some Eduardo Rodriguez at really cheap. I'm mixing in just a touch of Jesus Luzardo just in case he remembers that he's good again. And then one crazy one that I have just sprinkling in, because even though on paper it's a terrible matchup, but recently they've been really bad. And even though he shouldn't be very good, he keeps putting up really good scores. I got a little bit of Chad Patrick. Just a little bit of Chad Patrick going up against the Braves today in 150 lineups. Not something I would have in 20 lineups, but in 150, I decided to mix it in just because he's super low owned. The Braves have been struggling. And he's somehow put together some good scores. So Erod and Chad Patrick are going to be my 2 very low owned guys to take shots on today. Cheese, what about stacks? Who are you going to be prioritizing? And I do want to remind people to smash the like button. We got one Spidey Bomb already scrolling at the bottom. George Springer plus 550. We'll get a second one at 75 likes, third one at 100 likes. Keep hitting that like button, and we got some home run picks for you. Cheese, what are you doing at stacks today?
Yeah, so like we said, literally every one of them is fantastic, other than maybe the Brewers. And so I'm just not going to play all of them. In 150, I would play all of them, like literally all of them at pretty close to an even spread. But for just making a list of my favorites, I'm going Dodgers, Angels, Cubs, Braves, A's.
Stevie, what about you? Who are you prioritizing for stacks today?
Yeah, I think I'm going to prioritize the Angels the most. I'm chasing home runs on any slate, and JP Sears likes to give up the long ball, and there's a lot of right-handed power in this lineup. So I think chasing the home runs there. I mean, again, like the Dodgers are in arguably the best spot for left-handed hitters. And I mean, you just look at this lineup and they have so much left-handed power. Like Randy Vasquez is awful. His walk rate's higher than his strikeout rate, and he's just been very, 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 very lucky lately. So those are like the top 2 stacks. And I just wanted to point out, like, I'm with Cheese on the Cubs. Like, when you have a pitcher like Luzardo who is struggling with command, like, unless it just starts to like look better, like his command is really bad right now. And it's not even like walks. If you watch Jesus Luzardo pitch his last like 3 starts, like he is all over the catcher's glove, moving the catcher around behind the plate, just not hitting spots. And when you don't hit spots against a team like the Cubs, they can hit home runs off of you and put up big numbers. So I did have a lot of interest in like the Athletics, but like I don't think Jacob Wilson plays today. Langoliers being out of lineup, just like the lineup is not going to look as sexy, so I'm using them more as like a mini stack than anything else here. But Angels, Dodgers, by far my favorite 2 stacks on the slate.
All right, let's start going position by position here. Stevie, we'll start with you. Who do you like at catcher?
I mean, if you're not paying up for like Cal Riley or Will Smith or Carson Kelly, I will say like Herrera too for the Cardinals. He's very good against left-handed pitching, and Eric Lauer's nothing to write home about. you could kind of just go down and look for a cheap catcher. Even though like I have some interest in Lodolo, I think David Fry, like before getting hurt, David Fry was awesome against left-handed pitching. So he's like 2.9K and has power, but you could go all the way down to like Pozo against Lauer in that Cardinals game. Good hitting conditions in that game. So yeah, I mean that's really it for me. I don't really have any interest in the mid-range today.
Cheese, we got the big dumper on the slate. He's expensive. Are you prioritizing him or going cheaper?
Mostly going cheaper. I mean, I always want to play him, but I'm prioritizing the Dodgers ahead of him. And I can't spend up on all these guys. So I'm playing more Logan O'Hoppe. Obviously, I don't think we have that lineup yet. But if he's in, he's my favorite mid-tier guy. And then same thing, like, yeah, it's all okay. I mean, I don't mind like Herrera or Drake Baldwin. But if I can't get up to at least O'Hoppe, much less Smith or Raleigh, like the cheap stuff is pretty decent. Pozo, Garver, David Fry. Like I'm totally happy just tossing them in there.
All right, take us to first base.
So Ohtani is far and away my favorite bat on the slate. He should be popular, but he can't be like crazy popular because of the salary. And I also really love Freeman, who always will be like less than half of Ohtani's ownership. This is one of the places I'm playing A's bats. And I agree with what Stevie said. Like it's much more mini stacking A's or chasing power than full stacking, but Soderstrom and then Kurtz as a cheap guy I like a lot. Matt Olson is in the pool there. You can also do Encarnacion Strand instead of Kurtz as the cheap guy. I think they're both, and Spencer Steer's only a couple bucks more. I'm under on the Reds as a stack, but I don't mind, chasing power here and there with those guys. I think that's all I need to mention.
All right, Stevie, first base.
Yeah, I mean, Ohtani is the best hitter on the slate today. I mean, he's probably the best hitter in baseball, but like this slate, who he's facing, you prioritize him more than you prioritize anything else on the slate, like even pitching. Like I think you start lineups with him today. But you can play him in the outfield, so you can play him and Freeman together. And Cheese was talking about how Freeman always has like half the ownership. So I like the idea of playing both of them. Or like looking at these athletic first basemen, Soderstrom and Kurtz, I think are both great options at first. Outside of that, I mean, I don't really have a ton of interest in anybody else. I mean, I'm playing so much Ohtani that I know I'm getting a lot of him at first base too. And then if anything, maybe Atlanta like remembers they can hit baseballs. So like an Olsen or a Vlad, like she said, like if you're playing 150 today, like you can make an argument for stacking anybody. Even Milwaukee, you can make an argument for stacking them against Chalky Schwallenbach, but I mean, they're by far my least favorite stack. I'm just saying, like, I think it just all depends on the lineup. So in like a 3-entry max build like me, I'm focusing on Ohtani, Freeman, and the Athletics first basemen.
Couldn't agree more. One thing since you brought up Milwaukee that I'd want to touch on is, even though like I agree with you, I think they're viable, but they'd be my least favorite. I do really like Jake Bauers batting cleanup today at the first base position. So one guy I want to put some emphasis on, but Stevie, take me to second.
Yeah, second's an interesting position because I think it's the position you're going to see spread out the most today. I don't think there's like a chalky second baseman just in general. So I think second base is a position that you're going to try to find some value and try to save some money. Like you could go to Edman in your Dodgers stacks, but I think there's going to be more viable options in the Dodgers stack than Edman, and it's not like he's under 3K and really cheap. So the guy that I keep coming to is like Clement for Toronto. Liberatore is a really solid pitcher, but he still does give up power to righties, and Clement has a 300 ISO against left-handed pitching with a strikeout rate under 10%. So in this like mid-range, like cheaper, Clement is the guy that is not like projecting for any kind of ownership. I think he's an awesome pivot off of like a Max Muncy, the Athletics Max Muncy. So he's like the guy I want to highlight the most, but I think second base is just a position where you're kind of just looking for some value. Maybe Ozzie Albies under 4K, but I keep coming back to Ernie Clement.
Clement, my highest owned guy at the position here as well. Cheese, who do you like at second?
Nobody.
No one.
Yeah. Like, it's not a good slate to spend up for Marte, even though he would be the top guy. Like, that's one of the least important things to spend up on. And we can't really plan anything too much until we get the Dodgers lineup. Like, maybe Kim's in the lineup. Maybe Edman even gets higher. I don't know. So I like Edman either way, just because I don't really like anything. I'll have a little Dylan Moore in there as well. And yeah, I'm fine with Ernie Clement or Max Muncy or Nolan Gorman, just as cheap stuff, because I think you just go cheap here for the most part.
All right, take us to third.
Third is great. Jose Ramirez is great. You can play Lodolo and play Ramirez in the same lineup. Machado looks great. Max Muncy looks fantastic. He's my favorite. Austin Riley looks pretty great. You've got some of the same cheap stuff. I wouldn't play Clement or Muncy at third. I would just play them at second. But Encarnacion Strand, you could play here as well. Matt Shaw in stacks. But yeah, really those top four guys, Ramirez, Machado, Muncy, Riley, I've got almost 100% of that group outside of some stacks here and there.
Yeah, anybody that is viable to be played at second base today, even if they have positional eligibility elsewhere, I'm only playing them at second base because every other position is just so much stronger than that today. Stevie, who do you like at third?
I mean, Max Muncy. I was a little shocked by like his lower projected ownership. Like, he's wearing glasses now. Don't people understand? Like, he's hitting home runs. You can see the baseball. I like the Jose Ramirez call. I don't mind Manny Machado because he should get 2, potentially 3 at bats against a left-handed pitcher, and he's much better against lefties. But I don't know if you like prioritize spending up for him or Ramirez because like Max Muncy is so cheap, and we want to get the outfield position is just absolutely loaded. You know, we talked about Ohtani and like some of these Angels bats in that outfield. So prioritizing the outfield more than anything today. As far as like cheap options, I don't really think you need to necessarily go below Max Muncy at third base. So like Cheese said, I think Clement is more for second base today.
All right, take us to shortstop.
Yeah, the position we know and love. No one's going to play Ellie De La Cruz today, so he is an excellent like large field tournament play because Allen is not great. De La Cruz has so much upside. I like Mason Wynn in this spot. He has speed and power combo, so I like Mason Wynn hitting second under 4K. Bo Bichette. 2 guys that I'm prioritizing. I mean, obviously, you got Mookie Betts if you want to play Mookie. I just prefer the Freeman Ohtani combo than like the Ohtani Betts combo today, for what it's worth. So I'm prioritizing like that combo more than the Mookie Betts Ohtani combo. And you could potentially play all 3 of them. I just didn't like how lineups looked. So, and I'm prioritizing like Mike Trout. So, more than anything. But yeah, I mean, Mason Wynn is the guy that I think he stands out the most when you're looking at ownership today.
All right, Cheese, how about you? Who are you prioritizing at shortstop?
I'm prioritizing Zach Neto. I think Neto, Ellie De La Cruz, and Mookie Betts will all kind of split up the high-end ownership, such that I don't think any of them are really chalky or super sneaky. I'm only playing Betts in Dodgers stacks. I just prefer Neto as a one-off against the lefty. But you don't have to spend up here because of all the spend ups at first, third, in the outfield. I'm also fine with Mason Wynn. I'm fine with Xander Bogaerts. I think I have a Brujan thrown in as a one-off just because he's 2,500, and then I can get everything else in my lineup. And that is it.
All right, take us to the outfield the highly coveted outfield we've been talking about so far.
Yeah, it's glorious. So obviously you got Ohtani here as well. I like Tatis a lot. Mike Trout, fantastic. Then we've got Butler and Rooker. We've got Taylor Ward, Seiya Suzuki. Like every single one of those guys is like a priority play, and you can't play all of them in the same lineup. I've tried a bunch of times, and I couldn't get them all in the same one. So the way salary works out, I think I've ended up with Ward as my highest owned of that group because he's the cheapest of that group. And then my next highest owned player is probably Joe Adell. You could do Soler instead of him. I think Odell is a better hitter than Soler right now, so I'm leaning to him. I don't really like other cheap stuff. I've got a little bit of Lane Thomas, but like most of this is just not super expensive. All the A's and the Angels, other than Trout, are under 5K. You could throw Ozuna in there. And that's just all I want to say. Like, I don't want to do too much chasing cheap stuff other than Soler, Adele, and maybe Elaine Thomas.
One other cheap guy that, even though I don't love the full stack that I'd throw out there, is Kepler in a good batting spot today. I don't mind some Max Kepler. Of course, we got George Springer as a Spidey Bum. I haven't checked the likes in a while. We probably got enough for at least another one. So keep hitting that like button. I will add it in right now as Stevie takes us through the outfield.
I don't really have much to add. I will say, like, Ronald Acuna is back, so don't leave him out of your player pool today. Like, he just waiting for him to steal, but I mean, he's so good. Suzuki, like Dave said, but I mean, it's Ohtani, Trout, Rooker, Ward, Butler for me. Like, Soler, Odell, really the cheap bats, but nothing else like really standing out. I mean, Lane Thomas is 3K hitting leadoff, sure. Take some shots, Schneider, Springer. Like, those Toronto bats are going to kind of go overlooked, but like Liberatore is not like a terrible pitcher. So I don't like love the stack, but I think that Toronto has a little bit of upside. I keep getting sucked into Marcell Ozuna just because his price continues to be so far down, but he just looks lost at the plate right now. I watched him hit last night and just, I don't know. He doesn't look very confident up there. And we saw that at the beginning of last year. Then he just like blew up and never stopped hitting, but I don't know.
He's got a little injury going on. He's got a hip injury. So I think there's legitimacy to his struggles.
Yeah. Then just put him on the IL. Like, I don't know.
They are doing so bad right now that they got to find something to shake up. I feel like they're holding on to, let's get these get all our best players in the lineup, even though they're dealing with some injuries because we're struggling. But it's a long baseball season. I think they got to find some way to reset because it is a tough time to be rooting for the Braves with how they are playing. We'll get some home run calls, but before we do, well, no, we're actually going to get home run calls before I do the ad reads because I don't have them up in front of me right now. So, Stevie, who's in the home run tonight?
I mean, can we cheat and just say Ohtani?
I'll say that too. We're done. We both say Ohtani.
Yeah. No, like, if I had to pick somebody to hit a home run today, it'd be the top play. I mean, I like Taylor Ward to hit a home run today as well. I think this is a really good spot for the Angels and home runs. So, and then I don't know if it's necessarily off the board, but let's go Ohapi as well. Like, I think you could, if you are into like betting home runs, you could potentially bet like 5 or 6 Angels home runs if it made math to like try to get 2 of them and make money, because I think the Angels are just in such a good spot for home runs today.
Cheese, how about you? Who's not going out of the park?
Yeah, I'll add on 2 Angels, Neto and Joe Adell. And then for a non-Angel salary saver, Nolan Gorman.
I like it. Neto was somebody I was considering as a Spidey Bomb today as well. So absolutely love that call. The MLB DFS annual option is $425. However, we dropped the price of our Combo Pro product to mirror the MLB annual package. Might as well get more stuff for the same price, right? Combo Pro 6-month gives you full access to our content, tools, and projections for every sport except for NASCAR at a cheaper price than the monthly package. You'd actually save about 35%. by choosing 6-month instead of monthly. Sign up now for MLB projections, NBA content, PGA data, and more. Plus, we got the Props and Pick'em package going on for a discount. The Props and Pick'em package features daily prop picks and fantasy pick'em selections from many of your favorite RotoGrinders experts. Plus, we're knocking 50% off the first month when you sign up at the link down below, right down there in the YouTube description. We'll start going to some questions here. Before we do, Cheese, why don't you give us just like a little, very quick reminder of what we're doing at pitcher today?
Essentially, it's a 3-pitcher slate. Schwellenbach if you have the salary, and then Lodolo and Ben Brown if you don't. I mean, it really is that simple. I think TJ and I both mentioned that Eduardo Rodriguez is the other cheap guy in our pool. But really, it's Schwellenbach, Lodolo, Brown.
All right, let's start getting to some questions here. I'm going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. Then I will be going to the YouTube chat. Discord is quiet for them early morning shows, so we'll start with YouTube. Stevie, what do you think about Corbin Carroll today for GPPs?
Yeah, I don't think Brian Wu is like an over dominant pitcher. He gives up a lot of fly balls. So if you want to target Corbin Carroll as like a tournament pivot, like he has a 375 ISO against righties this year, so he certainly is someone that is going to benefit from a fly ball pitcher that gives up a lot of power. So yeah, I mean, I totally forgot to mention him, but I think he's very playable.
Yeah, I'm not super big on the Arizona stacks as a whole, but I do really like, if you can afford it, Carroll, Naylor, and Marte mini stack, I think looks really good. Suzuki or Trout as a one-off, Cheese?
Yes. So that's the problem with this slate. There's so many of those you can throw out there. And like, I'll give you an answer, but we're all just guessing. Like flip your coin and just take that guy. I will go with Suzuki.
All right. Do you think Luzardo is cooked, Stevie, and should we be full stacking the Cubs against them?
No, I think Luzardo is a really good pitcher. I just think that he's struggling with something right now, whether it be – it's definitely a command issue, so it's probably a mechanics thing or an injury. Typically when we see pitchers struggle with command or with typically when we see pitchers struggle with command, it's typically like an injury or something like going along with that, because like his velocity is up. Like his velocity is not the problem. He's just struggling to command the baseball right now. So I wouldn't be shocked if he struggles again in this outing that we see him get put on the IL after this start. And it could be so many different things, but I would assume that he might have some type of injury, or he comes out and the command's fixed here and he pitches lights out. I mean, he's a really good pitcher. He has a 45 or 44% K rate against lefties. Like he's a lead against left-handed hitters.
Cheese, what do you think of Alejandro Kirk at catcher today? A lot of people touting him in chat as their favorite catcher option today.
Totally fine. And he's kind of somewhat in his own pricing tier, like, $600 cheaper than Ohapi, but more expensive than the cheap stuff. He's totally fine. Like the Blue Jays are one of those teams, like I said at the beginning, all these teams are great and have upside. I just can't play all of them with how many lineups I'm doing. So the Blue Jays are one of the ones I'm skipping. But I mean, yeah, they're playable. Kirk is playable. It's all fine. So it's all more than fine. It's all good.
All right. Let's see. What do you think about Wilson Contreras as a one-off today, Stevie?
I mean, yeah, sure. I just think there's better options. Like Contreras, he is super solid against like left-handed pitching. Eric Lauer has not been terrible, but he does give up a lot of fly balls, which is going to benefit a guy like Contreras. So I don't hate it. I think there's better options.
All right. That does it for the YouTube questions. Let's get to, and we don't have much going on in Discord either. The morning shows are nice and quiet, but we will be back later this evening for more MLB Grinders Live, more MLB Crunch Time. Stevie or Cheese, do you have any kind of hot takes or final thoughts before we, I guess, get out of here a little bit early if we don't have any more questions?
I mean, I don't really have any hot takes for this slate. I will say I think that both Tampa and Boston outscore Coors on the late slate.
Cheese, do you think it's more of a full stack or a mini stack day? I feel like every day is a full stack day.
Yeah, I mean, you can build fantastic looking mini stack lineups, and I made a couple. But all these teams have that, like, you can see how they could get to 20 runs if they get into the right part of the bullpen. And the way salary works, you can't really just get the best bats everywhere. So if you have to end up going cheap, I like doing it in a stack. So that was a long answer to say. The short answer is I prefer full stacks.
Chip the Rip wants to know, Stevie, or not wants to know, but he says, please talk me into an Atlanta bat. So if you had to pick your favorite Atlanta bat, who would it be and why?
I mean, Ronald Acuna, I mean, like, he is just one of the best hitters in baseball. I mean, if you really want to be talking to a bat, I mean, he's the guy is 290 ISO against right-handed pitching since returning, 470 WOBA. The other guy that I don't mind here is like an Olsen or a Baldwin. You know, Chad Patrick does give up a lot of fly balls / line drives and hard contact to lefties. So if you're kind of chasing like a one-off like home run, maybe Baldwin or Olsen. It's just there's so many good plays at both of those positions that you're being different when you're playing those guys.
All right, that'll do it for this early crunch time slate. Like we talked about, we will be back for some more MLB content later in the day, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. We got 2 Spidey Bombs scrolling, George Springer, Danzy Swanson. We will catch you next time. On behalf of myself, Dave, a.k.a. CheeseIsGood, Stevie, a.k.a. Stevietpfl. We got one more question on the way out. What do you think about an A's stack, Cheese?
Yeah, I think we both said we prefer them as a mini stack. I love Butler, Rooker, and Soderstrom. I like Nick Kurtz too, but you can only play one of Soderstrom, Kurtz, so that kind of leaves me mostly just playing like 2 or 3 A's in a lineup, but I do like them.
All right, that'll do it. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next time. You have been crunched.